I said, fuck yeah, baby, mama, ashes like on the tip of this blunt, or that bones. Which one? Nah. And I said it. And nah. And whoever else feels some type of way. Ty, I don't give a brother, that nigga brother, none of them. Nigga, my brother in jail, nigga, I don't give a nigga brother. What they gonna do? Nothing. I'm still gonna be outside, still in the hood, nobody ain't gonna do nothing. I'm still gonna make my money around nigga, mama. That bitch ashes on my blunts. Go cry. Mother's Day just passed. Ain't that bitch Death Day or something coming up? Nigga.
It started with words on a screen, posts, comments, the kind of back and forth that happens every day online and most of the time stays there. But this time it didn't. This time someone took what was said on the internet and turned it into 12 bullets on a residential street in Detroit in the middle of the afternoon. And the person who paid the biggest price for that feud wasn't even part of it. She was a 27-year-old new mother. Her baby was 1 month old. He was in the back seat of her car when it happened, and she had no idea, not even a clue, that the conflict brother was caught up in online, was about to find her on a Wednesday afternoon outside a relative's house. This is the story of Ray and Rita Johnson. And if you think social media beef stays on social media, this case is going to make you think again. Before we go any further, if you're new here, subscribe and hit that bell icon right now. Don't let the algorithm decide whether you see this. This is Crime Files, and we cover the cases that deserve more than a 30-second news segment. Now, let's talk about who these two people actually were. Because before they became a headline, they were real. They had lives. They had people who loved them. And they deserved to make it home that day. Raye Johnson was 33 years old. He was a Detroit rapper. And if you know anything about the music scene in Detroit, you know it's not just a creative space. It's a world where your name means something, where your reputation follows you, and where the line between what you say publicly and how people respond to it in real life can get very thin very fast. Ray had a voice. He had a following, and like a lot of artists who move through that world, he was no stranger to the kind of friction that builds up online between people who run in overlapping circles. But whatever was going on, whatever was being said, whatever feud was playing out in comment sections and posts, Ray was still somebody's brother. He was still somebody's son. He was 33 years old with his whole life in front of him. And on May 20th, 2026, he pulled up to a relative's house on McKinney Street on Detroit's east side, parked his car, and had no idea he was parking it for the last time. Now Rita. Let's really talk about Rita, because her story is the one that makes this case impossible to shake. Rita Johnson. Rita, to everyone who knew her, was 27 years old. She was Ray's little sister. And the way her cousin Tonya Brown described her, you get an immediate picture of the kind of person she was. Tonya said they were together every single day. Said if you saw Rita's face, you saw hers. Said Rita was a good spirit. Said she would help anybody. Would give the clothes off her back without hesitation. Rita was also a brand new mother. Her son had just turned 1 month old. 1 month. And that afternoon, she had him with her. He was in the backseat of her car. The way young mothers carry their babies everywhere when they're that new, that small, that dependent. She probably had a diaper bag. She probably had that new mom exhaustion on her face. She was probably just happy to be around family. She had no idea what was coming. And here's the thing that makes Rita's story specifically so devastating. She wasn't part of whatever was going on online, not according to the people who knew her. Her cousin Tonya was very clear about that. Rita was not in the feud. Rita was not throwing words at anybody. Rita was not at the center of any conflict. She was just there because Ray was there, because that's what siblings do. They show up for each other, and it got her killed. Now let's walk through exactly what happened that afternoon, because the details of the shooting tell you everything about how calculated this was. May 20th, 2026, just before 2 in the afternoon, Detroit's east side, the 9600 block of McKinney Street near I-94, between Whittier Avenue and Berkshire Street, a residential neighborhood, the kind of block where people know each other's cars, where kids ride bikes, where you don't expect to hear 12 gunshots in the middle of a Wednesday. At 1:48 p.m., Detroit's ShotSpotter system, The gunshot detection technology the city has deployed across its neighborhoods picked up the sound of rapid fire and immediately sent an alert to police. Commander John Sveck of the 9th Precinct described the pattern as 9 shots fired quickly, followed by 3 more, 12 rounds total. Police were on the scene within 5 minutes, but it was already over. Ray and Rita were found in separate vehicles parked outside the relative's home. Both had been shot. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. And in the back seat of Rita's car, police found her 1-month-old baby boy, physically unharmed, alive, completely unaware of what just happened to his mother 2 feet in front of him. The suspect, investigators believe, came on foot, not in a car. On foot, they walked to that block. They approached those 2 parked vehicles. They opened fire, and then they left the same way they came. No escaling tiros, no getaway driver. Just someone who walked into a neighborhood, did what they came to do, and walked back out. Commander Sveck said it clearly. The shooting appeared targeted based on where the casings were located and how the shots were fired. This was not a stray bullet. This was not crossfire. This was a decision. Someone made a plan and carried it out in broad daylight on a residential street. And that is where the social media angle stops being background information and starts being the whole story. Because here's what we know about online feuds, and I want you to really think about this. When you're arguing with someone publicly on social media, when you're posting and responding and letting everyone watch the back and forth unfold, you are doing something that feels low stakes in the moment. You're sitting somewhere safe, phone in hand, typing words into a screen. It feels contained. It feels like it stays there, but it doesn't always stay there. And this is the part that people don't think about until it's too late. Public social media conflicts are roadmaps. When you're visible online, when people know your name, know your circle, know your patterns, you are handing information to anyone who is watching. And some of the people watching are not watching because they're fans. Some of them are watching because they're waiting for you to slip up, waiting for the right moment, waiting to take what started as a comment section argument and turn it into something permanent. Ray was a rapper. He had a public profile. And whatever was being said online, whatever the feud was, whatever the back and forth looked like, someone decided it had gone far enough that words weren't going to be the end of it. And they came to McKinney Street to prove it. Now here is where the case takes a turn that matters. Because within 24 hours of the shooting, Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison stepped in front of cameras and said something that immediately changed the tone of the investigation. He said they already had a suspect or a person of interest. He said they expected an arrest soon. And then he said this: "It's hard to commit a crime and get away with it now." He was talking about the city's surveillance network, license plate readers, flock cameras, the Project Greenlight program that has cameras positioned all across Detroit feeding footage directly to law enforcement in real time. Bettison credited that infrastructure as central to how fast investigators had zeroed in on someone. So think about what that means. The person who came on foot, who fired 12 rounds in the middle of the afternoon, who walked away like they had just handled something. They did all of that inside a city covered in cameras. And the footage was already being reviewed. The net was already closing, which raises a question that genuinely unsettles me. Did this person not know how watched that city is? Or did they know and just not care? Because both of those answers are disturbing in different ways. Not knowing speaks to recklessness. Not caring speaks to something darker, a level of rage or desperation where the consequences stop matching. Either way, 2 people are dead. A baby has no mother. And a family that was supposed to gather the very next day for a balloon release, honoring a friend who had died in a car crash nearly 4 years earlier, is now planning 2 funerals instead. Let that sink in. They had plans. Specific plans. A balloon release for someone they had already lost. A moment of community and remembrance already on the calendar. And instead of showing up to that, they are burying Ray and Rita. Tonya Brown said she was on the phone with Rita that afternoon, telling her she'd be there in 10 to 15 minutes. They were going to meet up, get ready together for a ride out they had planned. And then Tonya's grandmother called. There were rumors of a shooting. And a few moments later, Tonya saw footage on the news. Rita's car, a crime scene, yellow tape. She said she didn't know what to think. And honestly, how could she? How do you process in real time that the person you were just talking to, the person you were on your way to meet, is now the center of a breaking news story. And then there's what Tony has said about the baby. She looked into those cameras and said, "He's fine by the grace of God. Now we have to raise this child and let him know that his mother was a wonderful woman." That sentence, that one sentence, is the weight of this entire case sitting in one place, because that baby is going to grow up. He is going to ask questions. He is going to want to know who his mother was, what happened to her, why she isn't there. And someone in that family is going to have to find the words, is going to have to explain to a child that his mother was killed outside a relative's house on a Wednesday afternoon because of conflict that she wasn't even involved in, because of words on a screen that someone decided needed to be answered with bullets. That is what social media beef actually costs. Not followers, not clout, not even pride. It costs this. A 1-month-old baby growing up without his mother. A family planning funerals instead of a balloon release. A cousin standing in front of a camera, trying to hold herself together while she talks about raising someone else's child. So here are the questions I want to leave you with, because I think this case demands that we actually sit with them. At what point does an online argument become dangerous? How do you know when something that feels like just words has crossed into something that can follow you into real life? And if you're someone with a public profile, someone with following, someone whose conflicts play out where everyone can see, what responsibility do you carry to the people around you? To the ones who didn't sign up for any of it, but show up anyway because they love you? And maybe the hardest one, what does it say about where we are as a society that a 1-month-old baby can be sitting in a car while his mother is shot to death outside, and the whole thing traces back to something that started on a phone screen? I don't have clean answers, but I think we need to keep asking the questions, because Rita Johnson deserved better. Her son deserved better. And the more we talk about cases like this, the harder it becomes to look away. If the story moves you, share it. Leave a comment. And if you're not already part of the Crime Files family, subscribe and hit that bell, because we're going to keep telling these stories until the people in them are no longer forgotten.